on Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner on 12OZSportsRadio.com. I'm your host, Glenn Kaplan. I hope to have some music features, some intro music, and some end music for my next show. So I'm trying to really get with the program over here with this upgrading my show and stuff. As you can tell, for all you guys tuning in and listening right now, I don't know, wherever you are, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, 12OZSportsRadio.com. I have a new graphic. Thank you very much, Cody, for sending it to me last night. And thank you, Beck, for helping me putting this up. Show me the instructions. I truly appreciate it. So I'm going to be getting some more things going on around here. Try to upgrade some things, some commercials, and get some other stuff going so you don't have to hear me for a full hour straight. Trying to boost my viewers up. That's what the goal here at this radio station is. So thank you. Thank you to the head management. Thank you everyone involved. Let's keep going with this. Welcome to the 112th show here today. I hope you all are having a very good week. And I was not live on Monday. I have a lot of takes to get into today. So before I get into my first take, I use promo code 12OZSports, all caps for deposit bonus, up to $1,000 for my bookie. Let's start with Game 2 of the World Series. Game 2 of the World Series. Tampa Bay Rays defeat the Los Angeles Dodgers 6-4. Now the series tied at 1. I'm very surprised in the offensive showing here in the first two games of this World Series. 8-3 in Game 1, the Los Angeles Dodgers win. Tampa Bay takes Game 2, as I've said, 6-4. And both of these teams are hungry. They won a World Series. Tampa Bay's never won it before. Los Angeles Dodgers have not won since 1988. Against the Oakland Athletics in 5 games. And when the Rays made it, they lost to the Philadelphia Phillies in 5 games back in 2008. Here's what I find very interesting with this series. The Tampa Bay Rays need to make sure just to tread water, make this to a Game 7. As if you're the Los Angeles Dodgers, you get this series done as fast as you possibly can. Do you want to face Charlie Morton in Game 7? I mean, it's set up perfectly for the Tampa Bay Rays, with Charlie Morton going for Game 3 with a 3-0 record, a .57 ERA in his postseason. As for the Dodgers, Walker Buehler, 1-0 record with a 1.89 ERA. And Morton is utterly ridiculous in a winner-take-all Game 7. Oh, yeah, they happened to face him when they were playing the Houston Astros in 2017 and asked them how that went. Which is the perfect reason why the Los Angeles Dodgers need to get this series done as fast as possible. And there have been a lot of home runs, and I've been very happy to see fans at the Arlington Ballpark in Texas. Folks, let me say something about this. The Tampa Bay Rays don't have the superstar firepower like the Los Angeles Dodgers do. You see both lineups? You look at those lineup cards. You tell me where you see that one All-Star in the Tampa Bay Rays. When you look at that Los Angeles Dodgers lineup, point to me where all the stars are. Yep. And this is by far, out of the 3 teams that they played, this is probably by far the weakest one. I know what you're saying, but the Tampa Bay Rays are a number 1 seed. They were in the American League. They beat the New York Yankees. Yeah, I get it. But you're going to tell me the Tampa Bay Rays are better than the Boston Red Sox team or the Houston Astros were in 2017? You're going to tell me the 18 Red Sox or the 17 Astros are better or not better? What I mean by that is you're going to tell me the Tampa Bay Rays would be one of those 2 teams. Because they simply would not. And yeah, I know they beat the Houston Astros this year, but they weren't the same team. And now don't get me started an old cheating scandal, because I happened to call a friend of mine last night. He thinks that Astros team's going to be broken up. And I'm just going to say this. I think George Springer's leaving. But now let me get back on track. Because Alex Bregman, Carlos Correa, and Jose Altuve not leaving the Houston Astros. But let me get back to this with the World Series. Game 3 will be at 8:08 p.m. Eastern on Fox on Friday night. So what happened in Game 2? Nick Anderson, winning pitcher. Losing pitcher, Tony Gonsolin. They basically switched to bullpen basically every other inning by manager Dave Roberts. Saved Diego Castillo. Blake Snell only lasted 4.2 innings, but he did strike out 9, and his curveball last night, I don't know if you saw his curveball. Oh boy! That curveball was finesse and on point in the strike zone. He had hitters, basically frozen all night. Let's see. Chris Taylor had a 2-run homer in the 5th inning off of Blake Snell. Will Smith had an RBI in the game, and Corey Seager had a solo home run in the 8th for the Dodgers. Brandon Lowe had 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. Joey Wendell had 3 RBIs in the game. That's a good sign. All right. Moving on from the World Series. All right. Next up is... let's go to the NBA offseason updates. Updates to the NBA offseason. The only new one that I have at the moment is the New Orleans Pelicans have hired Stan Van Gundy as their next head coach. Good hire. He'll have Zion Williamson to work with the RP and heart and soul of the New Orleans Pelicans. He's a young player, a finesse player, and if he stays healthy, he's going to be all right. They also have Josh Hart. They have Brandon Ingram. They got some other key guys to work with. And I wish they could have gotten Jeff Van Gundy off of television. Because they got rid of the Van Gundy off television. If they could get rid of Jeff Van Gundy off of television, that would be great. Because more than half of the time, his takes are absolutely and utterly atrocious. And no wonder why Mark Jackson has to take him down. And speaking of which, why isn't Mark Jackson getting hired as an NBA head coach? Which I simply do not understand whatsoever. No, I do not. All right, let's move on from this. Let's move on from this topic, though, nonetheless. Next up, the NHL offseason. So, 2 key players on the Boston Bruins are going to be out to 4 to 5 months. I happened to be watching the NHL Network the other day, NHL Live. There was nothing else really interesting on for me. That's just the way that I looked at it. So, Brad Marchand and David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins will be out for the next 4 to 5 months with off-season surgeries. Because it's a shorter off-season, unlike any other, the Boston Bruins are in downright deep trouble next year for the NHL playoffs. And usually for a team that talented, I will never say about that. But when we're talking about the 2 of your 3 best players and 2 of the top 15 players potentially in the National Hockey League missing time for that long is a major red flag and a major concern. Because both of those guys are responsible for 40 goals a year. And yeah, I know you got Patrice Bergeron, Tuukka Rask, but this team is simply not deep enough. And yeah, I know they won the President's Trophy last year. Yeah, I get it. They won the President's Trophy last year. Yeah, that's because of Brad Marchand, David Pastrnak line. They were all intact. This would be a perfect time to go get a Mike Hoffman or whoever else is on the free agency market. You better go sign somebody. Because if you don't sign somebody or trade someone or have anyone within your farm system, you're in trouble. And let me just say this. The Boston Bruins cannot rely on Tuukka Rask. That is an absolute no-no. Why is this a no-no, shall I ask? Because Tuukka Rask has his moments of inconsistency And you cannot rely on him for him to steal you a bunch of games until those two guys get back. Ask Carey Price how that's gone for him in Montreal. Just ask him. Ask Carey Price how that's gone for him. And I know what they say, yeah, you need goalie to win, but you also need an offense. If you need a mixture, balance of goaltending and offense to win the Stanley Cup. Speaking of Stanley Cup droughts, the Toronto Maple Leafs have not won since 1967. But the thing about the Toronto Maple Leafs that my Uncle Frank never likes to admit because he doesn't like John Tavares, and with the whole Toronto thing, and I get it, with the whole Toronto thing with John Tavares and leaving the New York Islanders, but let's be real. Kyle Dubas, the general manager, has done an exceptional job of trying to fix this team in the offseason because they got two key veterans in Joe Thornton and Wayne Simmons. As I was saying about how I found out about the Boston Bruins injuries. How did I find out about the Toronto Maple Leafs fixtures of the NHL Network? And I saw that Joe Thornton and Wayne Simmons are projected to be on the third line. And I like that mix. That is a very good mix. Now here's what I saw crazy. I found something very crazy. But was it logistical? And this would never happen. But there was someone out there yesterday scrolling through across my Instagram. And this would never happen. But does this make sense? Because Toronto's in win now mode. And Chicago's rebuilding. Supposedly the cap picture makes sense for this. Do you trade? If you're the Toronto Maple Leafs, Mitchell Marner and William Nylander for Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane. And I know that sounds crazy, and that sounds like a ton of hoopla. But the truth of the matter is, salary cap here matters. And that's what you look for in a trade. Toronto is hungry for a Stanley Cup. Chicago is rebuilding. You got Kirby Dach and Dominic Kubalik. Mitchell Marner and William Nylander are good players. You can fit them anywhere. Jonathan Toews and Patrick Kane are the definition of the Chicago Blackhawks. But because they have not tasted the experience of the postseason like Malkin and Crosby have for the Pittsburgh Penguins, it's worth a somewhat of a look, but it would be something that Stan Bowman would probably do in a second. The general manager, who has no idea what he's doing, has done a disservice to those two, and you would immediately strip John Tavares of the sea, and that maybe puts Toronto as the favorites. Because then you bring in a true leader, not a fake leader like John Tavares is, a true leader by Jonathan Toews, a downright sniper by Patrick Kane, and now all of a sudden you got the right pedigree, and Tavares and Austin Matthews can learn from those guys. Toronto is not in rebuild mode anymore. Toronto's in a win-now Stanley Cup mode. As Chicago Blackhawks are rebuilding, why are Toews and Kane's years being wasted? Marner and Nylander's years, they still got plenty of light ahead of them. They could be the new faces of Chicago. But Toronto, it seems like I would be an interesting trade. Because you would have, can you imagine Austin Matthews, Jonathan Toews, Patrick Kane, and John Tavares on a power play unit? And yeah, I know what you want to say about no defense. But let me say this. You know how they say it all starts at the captain and leadership? You better darn right believe that Jonathan Toews would have this team, even the defensemen, defending both ways. They would hold Tavares and Matthews accountable. So would the rest of the roster. And that team, and yeah, what do you do about your future? But Toronto still has prospects enough that they can do this deal. And it makes sense. It would never happen. But it is something to think about. And before you all call me crazy, it'd be like, oh boy. Oh boy. That's just something. That's a hashtag no filter Glenn take. But I want you to all take a research on the Spotrac of Spotrac.com of William Nylander, Mitchell Marner, Jonathan Toews, and Patrick Kane's contracts. Look at those contracts because it evens out the cap. Not saying that trade would happen. That's like trying to say the Pittsburgh Penguins would trade Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin. But we know that Jim Rutherford, the general manager of the Pittsburgh Penguins, have said that he would never do that. But you don't know what Stan Bowman does. He's basically done a disservice to those two. He's done a disservice. Because I'm saying this, and I'm telling you all this right now. If for some odd reason the Toronto Maple Leafs did that, they would probably be the favorites. I'm just saying. They would be the... Oh, jeez. The phone ringing in my background. Oh, speaking of ringing in the background. Should I pick up the phone? Maybe I'm General Kyle Dubas, General Manager, Toronto Maple Leafs. Here's Stan Bowman. Please ignore the messages in the background. Thank you. So... my apologies, people. My apologies.
That's going to work out good. All right, I'll talk to you later. I love you. Bye.
As I'm saying, with the whole NHL thing, let's see what happens moving forward. That's an interesting trade to talk about. Now, let's move on to the National Football League. Tua Tagovailoa named the starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins over Ryan Fitzpatrick. I knew immediately that Tua Tagovailoa was going to be named the new starting quarterback for the Miami Dolphins when he came into the 24-0 win against the New York Jets in Week 6. He will make his first career start after the bye week against the Los Angeles Rams in Week 8. This is a very interesting time, and head coach Brian Flores agrees with the move. But Ryan Fitzpatrick hated the move despite being pumped up on the sidelines the other day. Fitzpatrick thought he was going to still be starting, and I know fans have been like, oh, let's get him. Dallas Cowboys fans, let's replace Andy Dalton, this and that. Minnesota Vikings, let's get him. Let's replace Kirk Cousins. Slow down. I know Fitzpatrick's upset. He's not leaving Miami. Tua Tagovailoa said it best. It's a father-son relationship. They like each other. But this was like when Marc-Andre Fleury was with Matt Murray and the Pittsburgh Penguins. That's what this was like. So here's the thing. Tua Tagovailoa will be going up against Justin Herbert of the Los Angeles Chargers and also Joe Burrow of the Cincinnati Bengals later this season. So Ryan Fitzpatrick, so far this season, completed 138 of 197 passes for 70.1 completion percentage for 1,535 yards passing, 10 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. 135 yards rushing for 25 carries and 2 touchdowns. The Miami Dolphins are in the thick of the AFC East race and wild card race with a 3-3 record. But this is more about the future, despite Ryan Fitzpatrick having the best season of his career, though nonetheless. The Buffalo Bills, 4-2, are currently in first place. The New England Patriots, 2-3, are currently in third place. And the New York Jets, 0-6, currently in fourth place in the AFC East. And they may not even win a game this season, though nonetheless. So it's like, I think this is the right time to start Tua. I think it is. You get a bye week. I know the next 2 games are against Aaron Donald, the Los Angeles Rams, and Kyler Murray, the Arizona Cardinals. I get it. It's okay. It's okay. He's got to learn. Joe Burrow's learning. Justin Herbert's learning. They're both pretty good. I think Tua will be good as long as he could stay healthy. Because he had his hip issues. All right. Excuse me. This would be a perfect time to do a 10 to 15 second commercial. But when I get those up, I will have those for you guys. So, here we go. Use promo code 12OZ Sports, all cash for deposit bonus, up to $1,000 for my bookie. Okay, here we go. NFL Week 7 preview. The teams that will be on a bye this week, and it will be another 4 teams, along with the Miami Dolphins, as I was just mentioned just a minute ago, the other 3 teams that will be on a bye along with them is the Baltimore Ravens, the Minnesota Vikings, and the Indianapolis Colts, though, nonetheless. Good bye week for the Ravens. They need to refresh, even though they're 5-1. They got some mistakes to fix. The Minnesota Vikings, yeah, they're not as good as many people hoped. And the Indianapolis Colts, good bye week for them. They can fix some things up as well, though, nonetheless. Here we go. My record last week, I was okay, average, as they say, 500, 7-7. My overall record so far this season is, I feel like this is probably the best year I probably ever had with picking games through 7 weeks. 61, 30-1. Because like 3 or 4 of those weeks, I've had, 3 losses or less? And that was, just to tell you, that was how bad I was in week 1. I'm just going to keep harping on it. I'm just going to keep, harping on it for the rest of the year. That was 6-10 in the first week. And then on and on, the next couple of weeks, I only had 3 losses or less, 2 losses or less, whatever you want to say. Here we go. Tonight's matchup features the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. This game is for the awful and brutal NFC East potential lead, maybe. Time is going to tell to see what happens. You gotta see how these games play out. Daniel Jones and Carson Wentz are both underachieving. Jones threw a touchdown pass last week for the first time since week 1. And let's hope he gets some more confidence this week. And as for Carson Wentz, he's a broken car. That's what Carson Wentz is. You might see a lot of Jalen Hurts tonight for the Eagles. You're not going to probably see Colt McCoy for the New York Giants. Let's hope Jones doesn't get hurt, or Wentz for that matter either, for the Eagles. However, New York actually likes Jones as their quarterback somewhat. I feel like New York Giants fans are more supportive of Daniel Jones as their quarterback than the Philadelphia Eagles are of Carson Wentz being their quarterback. So you believe they still should have Nick Foles, and I personally, you know what? And I don't blame them. I don't blame them for wanting to say that they would rather have Nick Foles. Look at that. There's a reason why the Chicago Bears are 5-1 this year and the Philadelphia Eagles are 1-4-1. There is a reason. You know what they say? There's a reason for everything, right? That's why. So the injury bug for the Eagles is crazy, and the Giants isn't as bad. They're trying to get, I know the Eagles are going to get Deshaun Jackson back, a receiver tonight. New York Giants are trying to get Sterling Shepard back as well. Joe Judge got his first win on Sunday against the Washington football team. And Philadelphia lost to the Baltimore Ravens, though, nonetheless. For the second straight game, the New York Giants will take down the Philadelphia Eagles by a final score of 20-17. The game of the week. Unclash the unbeaten and the undefeated battles, baby. Unclash it. The Pittsburgh Steelers against the Tennessee Titans. The game of the week with a clash of unbeaten football teams. And maybe potentially an AFC Championship preview and potentially the game of the year. And the fact is, when a battle of unbeatens, I mean in week 7 or later, the last 4 or 5 winners had gone on to reach the Super Bowl that year. Here's the interesting thing about this game. Pittsburgh fans, and I've seen it all week all over Twitter, don't feel as confident as Tennessee fans do because Steelers fans believe they have not played anyone good yet, unlike the Titans. Ben Roethlisberger and Ryan Tannehill will be the marquee quarterback matchup, and Roethlisberger has admitted he's 1-2 in Tennessee and has not played well in Tennessee. And the one game they won, this was like 8-10 years ago or something, where they won a game, but they only scored like 19. They only scored like 19 points in that game. So I see where he's coming from. Ryan Tannehill is playing at MVP level. I think Ben Roethlisberger is doing a good job. I really do. But the difference in this game is Derrick Henry will clearly outplay James Conner. I personally am surprised at how well Conner's playing. But I personally think Tennessee, both teams are going to play stop the run first. I truly believe both of these teams are going to play stop the run. You got to win up front. You got to win the line of scrimmage in this game. I believe both defenses are trying to make big plays. But it is about limiting the big plays. Mike Vrabel may be the coach of the year right now in the NFL. And Mike Tomlin deserves some consideration as well, though, nonetheless. The Tennessee Titans will take down the Pittsburgh Steelers on a last-second field goal by a final score of 34-31. Upset special of the week. Seattle Seahawks versus the Arizona Cardinals. The marquee matchup of Russell Wilson versus Kyler Murray. Seattle is coming off a bye week, and Arizona is coming off a dominating and impressive win against the Dallas Cowboys. The Cardinals have speed on offense, and the Seahawks have a horrendous and bad defense this season. The secondary will be toasted by DeAndre Hopkins, Kenyon Drake, and Christian Kirk. DK Metcalf, Chris Carson, and Tyler Lockett will be some of the key players on the offensive side of the ball for the Seattle Seahawks, though nonetheless. In the wild NFC West, the Arizona Cardinals will upset the Seattle Seahawks in this game by a final score of 38-35. Blowout of the week, San Francisco 49ers versus the New England Patriots. This game isn't going to be as close as people think. First of all, the San Francisco 49ers playing the best division in the NFL and the NFC West, as I was just mentioning, like around 2 seconds ago. Or just a moment ago. 2 seconds? We'll see. Second of all, the New England Patriots have no threats in the offensive side of the ball. They can't create separation for even 2 seconds. Jimmy Garoppolo will be returning to Foxborough, Massachusetts for the first time since being traded from the New England Patriots a few years ago. Cam Newton needs more around him, but he won't admit it. Both are good replacements for Tom Brady, who is now with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, though, nonetheless. Kyle Shanahan needs to ride Jimmy Garoppolo and just admit he's the guy moving forward. Admitting things is good, right? So Kyle Shanahan will outcoach Bill Belichick and dominate this game, and the San Francisco 49ers will win this game over the New England Patriots by a final score of 35-14. Dallas Cowboys versus the Washington football team. This is going to be another prime matchup in the NFC East. Or should I say, the NFC least. We will keep an eye on this game because Dallas players hate Mike McCarthy and Washington players love Ron Rivera. Andy Dalton is a better quarterback than Kyle Allen is. Ezekiel Elliott isn't the same running back he once was, and he has fumbling issues right now, and at the moment, though, nonetheless. Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissick will be more effective some way, somehow for this Washington football team. The Cowboys' defense is bad, and Washington's defense is a tad better. However, talent will prevail in this game, and the Dallas Cowboys will put up more points with the receiving core of Michael Gallup, Amari Cooper, and CeeDee Lamb. Terry McLaurin, Don Cholam, and Steven Sims are mad wide receivers. Dalton Schultz, the starting tight end for the Dallas Cowboys, versus Logan Thomas, the starting tight end for the Washington football team. Now, this is the key at the tight end position, and DeMarcus Lawrence is probably the best defensive lineman for the Dallas Cowboys, and Chase Young is the best defensive lineman for the Washington football team. Both of these teams do not have very good offensive lines. Simply put, it's downright atrocious. These teams. Not very good. Want to know why it's not very good? Because they get blitzed, they get a lot, and they just have trouble protecting the quarterback, both of these teams. So, we'll see, how it's all going to wind up happening at the end of the day. But all I know is, could you imagine a 2-5 team being in first place at the end of the weekend for the NFC East? I mean, you can't be serious. You just better hope like a Dallas wins, make it at least somewhat respectable, because a team with 2 wins by the end of week 7. You know the old phrase, I don't know if you've seen the memes on Twitter, spot the one imposter. Well, there's an imposter. The Dallas Cowboys of all teams. Maybe the Washington football team, or maybe the New York Giants. Maybe the Philadelphia Eagles. They all could be in first place by the end of the weekend. We'll see. So the Dallas Cowboys will take down the Washington football team by a final score of 38-23. Buffalo Bills versus the New York Jets. The Buffalo Bills just ordered some medication from the pharmacy before this game against the New York Jets. Buffalo lost to the Tennessee Titans and the Kansas City Chiefs in back-to-back weeks, and what a way for Buffalo to find some way to gain confidence back. I mean, going to a pharmacy, isn't that pretty cool? To try and get some, medication. You need some medication. I mean, this is what Dr. Orr, just crazy. Josh Allen will revert to his good ways. Again this weekend, though, nonetheless. Sean McDermott is already out coaching Adam Gase now, and the game hasn't even started. You're going to tell me the game has yet to begin? And they are already starting to have, it all starts in the film room, right? So the Buffalo Bills will win this game over the New York Jets by a final score of 28-10. The Carolina Panthers versus the New Orleans Saints. This is going to be a tough, tight game between 2 good teams in the NFC South. The New Orleans Saints have way higher expectations than the Carolina Panthers do. Mike Davis has done a solid job filling in for Christian McCaffrey. Alvin Kamara has been much better in the backfield this season for New Orleans Saints. Tavius Murray is a better second option in the backfield as well, though, nonetheless. Drew Brees and Teddy Bridgewater are both game managers for their respective teams. Don't be like the doctors and pharmacists in this one. They'll be trying to be fair to all sides. And you got to be leaders as well. So, Alvin Kamara. Yeah, I said mention about Alvin Kamara. Sean Payton will outcoach Matt Rule in this game as well. Michael Thomas, Emmanuel Sanders, solid wide receiver duo for New Orleans. And DJ Moore and Curtis Samuels, a solid receiver duo for Carolina. The New Orleans Saints will take down the Carolina Panthers in the NFC Showdown by a final score of 22-21. Green Bay Packers versus the Houston Texans. This game is going to possess a bunch of points, scored in a little bit of defense being played. Aaron Rodgers and Deshaun Watson will both air it out. Green Bay needs to bounce back after suffering their first defeat of the season on the road against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Houston almost pulled off the upset on the road against the Tennessee Titans. However, the Packers will find a way to be better than the Texans in this game, though, nonetheless. The Green Bay Packers will win this game over the Houston Texans by a final score of 42-38. Cleveland Browns versus the Cincinnati Bengals. This game is going to possess a lot of interesting notes here. Cleveland has a better roster than Cincinnati does, but it's very possible for the second time this season when these last two the last time these two teams played each other was in week 2, that Joe Burrow will outplay Baker Mayfield once again in this game. Expect Cleveland to run the ball and get their wide receivers Odell Beckham Jr. and Jarvis Landry involved early and often, because I believe Kevin Stefanski is a very good head coach. It's just we harsh on the Cleveland Browns too much when they get obliterated by teams like the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Baltimore Ravens, who are clearly better than them in the AFC North. Cleveland's the middle pack, like a top 15 team in the NFL. Had them top 10 last week, but that's what happens when you get your tails kicked from start to finish. But it's okay, because Joe Burrow is the heartbeat and heart and soul of the Cincinnati Bengals, and he is a very, very good player. So I think he'll air it out to AJ Green and Tyler Boyd as well. And you got the battle to Higgins. They're no relation. Rashad Higgins and T. Higgins as the third receiving options. John Ross III, Nick Chubb will both not see the field in this one. The Cleveland Browns will take down the Cincinnati Bengals by a final score of 31-21. Detroit Lions versus the Atlanta Falcons. This is going to be another sellers of the basement type of game. As they say, basement dwellers, baby. You know what they say? You invite your one friend and they're just not very good to you at times. Okay, we're gonna just put this guy in the basement, make him a basement dweller. The Detroit Lions will look to go on a mini winning streak in this game, and so will the Atlanta Falcons, though, nonetheless. Detroit has Matthew Stafford and Atlanta has Matt Ryan. I believe that both of these teams could very well even out, airing it out this week. Ryan and Julio Jones. Jones could be up for sale at the trade deadline. That would be interesting to see who would acquire who. I mean, there are a lot of teams that could take both of them. The question is, who gets more first-round picks back? Or do you hang on to them and simply try and hire the right coach for the scheme? Because Dan Quinn was a defensive coach. Maybe hire an Eric Bieniemy or a Lincoln Riley. Maybe the schematics would fit better. I remember it was Brandon Marshall on First Things First. He mentioned how maybe you just got to get the right coach. I mean, he does a tremendous job. Former NFL wide receiver. I mean, you got to give props to him where props is due. Then, Kenny Golladay, one of the best wide receivers, very underrated wide receiver for Detroit Lions offense. And so is tight end TJ Hawkinson. Hayden Hurst and Calvin Ridley is as good as well for Atlanta in their offense. However, we will see what happens. And the Detroit Lions will win this game over the Atlanta Falcons by a final score of 25-22. Jacksonville Jaguars versus the Los Angeles Chargers. If the Los Angeles Chargers lose this game, Anthony Lynn should be shown the door immediately. This team has way too much talent to lose to a rebuilding football team. Doug Marrone is also coaching for his job as well as for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Justin Herbert should dominate this game over Gardner Minshew. The second, James Robinson and Joshua Kelly will be an interesting running back battle in this game, though, nonetheless. I mean, Chargers, guys, I've said it on previous shows in the past. The Los Angeles Chargers have one of the most talented rosters in the league. But if you're going to say that coaching doesn't matter, you're absolutely 100% unequivocally wrong. It absolutely matters, coaching. Coaching matters. And if you don't think it doesn't matter, then I don't know what to tell you, folks. I mean, this should be a blowout. But it's probably not going to be. It's probably not going to be. Because we see what happens when the Chargers have a double-digit lead in the second half and then they blow it. They would say, hey, here you go. Yeah, it's because I know what you want to say about the players. Yeah, I know it's the players on the field, but it's a matter of time. When are you leaving on the coaches? That's why the Atlanta Falcons fired Dan Quinn. That's why the Los Angeles Chargers should fire Anthony Lynn. The same is done. The Los Angeles Chargers will take down the Jacksonville Jaguars by a final score of 35-14. Kansas City Chiefs versus the Denver Broncos. The Denver Broncos have pulled off 2 straight wins, and they will be upset-minded against the Kansas City Chiefs. However, Patrick Mahomes will obviously outplay Drew Lock in this game. Should be. Drew Lock didn't look so hot last week against New England Patriots. Patrick Mahomes was really efficient, but he let the running game really talk the talk. Mahomes really just did walk the walk, I guess, just make the key passes late in the game and get him up in good field position. That's the way the Kansas City Chiefs operate. They're a good football team. They're one of the 3-4 best teams in the league. People even think they're the top team. And you'll find out in a little bit what my top 10 rankings is for this week. For the upcoming week. And what's funny is there's a group chat that I join, that there's a fantasy football league that I'm in. Shout out to that group. And it's always a fun time in there. And then all these people, they give their top 10 rankings. And then we always argue over it. And I'm probably going to share it with them after the show is over. And then they can make the judgment call of what do we think of it. So, let's get back on track here with this. If both of these quarterbacks get shut down, expect the running back duo Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Darrell Williams to outplay Phillip Lindsay and Melvin Gordon. And the Kansas City Chiefs do a lot of things with grace and class these days. They really do. And that's why Le'Veon Bell basically decided to sign with the Kansas City Chiefs, and they don't have him yet. He's not going to be playing a lot for them, really. We'll see. Kansas City Chiefs need to fix its defense, and this would be a perfect opportunity to do so, to do it against. I know Buffalo, they contained Josh Allen, but they were able to move the ball off the field. They really need that start to finish dominant. That's what I think the Kansas City Chiefs need on defense. Denver Broncos will be feisty for all 4 quarters. Andy Reid will find a way to outcoach Vic Fangio once again. And the Kansas City Chiefs will take down the Denver Broncos, though, nonetheless, by a final score of 27-21. Tampa Bay Buccaneers versus the Vegas Raiders. Tom Brady and Derek Carr will be a very interesting quarterback matchup in this contest. Both of these defenses are very underrated, and so are the offenses. Actually, the Raiders' offense is putting up points like crazy, and the Buccaneers, you don't know what you get from week to week. 1 week it's great, 1 week it's not. I guess along with the Buccaneers, I guess you could say the same about the Raiders' offense. Up and down, it's like a roller coaster, it's like relationships. Up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. That's what I say. Let me just say that. Okay? So, speed is going to be a key factor in this game. And if the defense doesn't find the speed demon, folks, good night and goodbye. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at wide receiver, and Nelson Aguilar and Henry Ruggs, the wide receivers for the Vegas Raiders. Rob Gronkowski, one of the best tight ends in the league, and I personally think he's the best tight end in the game who ever played and lived at the position. And I know what we say about Tony Gonzalez, who's played for the Atlanta Falcons, and he also played for the Kansas City Chiefs for a little bit. And then, along Kansas City and Atlanta Falcons. And then Darren Waller, who started his career with the Baltimore Ravens, now found a home with the Vegas Raiders, and now a big, strong, physical specimen. And I think it's going to potentially be tough for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense to stop. I think the word underrated is very key. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers will take down the Vegas Raiders, though nonetheless, by a final score of 31-28. The Chicago Bears against the Los Angeles Rams. This is going to be an ugly Monday night football game. Jared Goff hates pressure, and so does Nick Foles. However, Foles is going to play better than Goff. Khalil Mack and Aaron Donald will do their respective damage. Remember when a few years ago when Nick Foles, the Eagles were on the ropes in week 15, had to win every game to get in the playoffs and needed some help, and I'm like, oh, the Eagles are screwed, they don't have Carson Wentz. Well, Nick Foles, baby. Nick Foles knows how to get it done against Los Angeles Rams. And whenever he finds a way to get it done again this weekend, the Philadelphia Eagles fan base will continue to cringe even more. Because that's just the way their fan base is. That's how it is. That's the way the Philadelphia Eagles fan base really, truly is all about. Right? That's what I think it is. So, excuse me. I want to see how interesting the cornerback receiver matchup of Jalen Ramsey and Allen Robinson's going to be. Allen Robinson, one of the most underrated wide receivers in football, looking to get paid this offseason. Jalen Ramsey already got his money. He already got his money. So he's in good shape. The Rams, very good defensively this year. I've been surprised. They lose Wade Phillips as the defense coordinator, but their replacement defense coordinator has done a very good job. You lose Corey Littleton. Now with the Raiders, they're going up against Buccaneers this weekend, but it's like, hey, this guy's actually pretty decent. So, and then both of these, Chicago doesn't have a running back by committee, really, and the Rams do. I think that's helped the Rams. I think Le'Veon Bell would have been perfect with Chicago. He really would have. David Montgomery is really good tailback as well. So, and I truly believe they missed Tariq Cohen. And then for the Rams, you got Cam Akers. You have Darrell Henderson. And you also have Bryce Brown. And tight end production in this game is going to be a non-factor. Folks, the Chicago Bears will take down the Los Angeles Rams on a last-second field goal by a final score of 20-19. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Time for the NFL bowl predictions for Week 7 of the NFL season. Number 1, over 835 yards of total offense will be racked up in the Seattle Seahawks versus the Arizona Cardinals game. Number 2, Daniel Jones will outplay Carson Wentz. Number 3, Julio Jones goes for over 200 yards receiving. I'm going to say around that area. Number 4, Case Keenum comes in the game for the second straight and consecutive week and plays a Baker Mayfield. Number 5, Derek Carr outplays Tom Brady. And some people are like, you crazy kid. No, Carr's actually had a pretty decent season up to this point for the Vegas Raiders. I like the way he's been playing. There are lots of questions about him coming into the season. I don't know. I thought the Raiders were going to be the worst team in the AFC West, but here we are. They somehow beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I don't know how. But, hey, you got to give John Gruden and General Manager Mike Mayock a lot of credit for what they've done. I mean, what they've done with that team is pretty successful. That's how you get it done. You get it done from the top to the bottom. You stockpile picks. You evaluate talent. That's how you get things done. Now, I don't think the Raiders are as talented as any of the teams in the AFC. But they want to say, hey, we belong here. We belong here. That's how he feels. And we'll see how Tom Brady is this week, though, nonetheless. All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. It's time for the NFL Top 10 teams. Entering Week 7 of the NFL season. Number 10, the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo I know they lost to Kansas City and Tennessee, and I know what y'all want to say to pretenders. Folks, this is why I still have the Buffalo Bills on my top 10 team. They would beat a lot of these teams in the league. And I said to myself, is it them or the Arizona Cardinals? I said, Buffalo Bills would beat the Arizona Cardinals. That's how I decided why the Buffalo Bills are on my top 10 team. Josh Allen, Sean McDermott, very well coached. That's how I feel why the Buffalo Bills are the 10th best team in the NFL. They dropped a couple of spots from last week. Number 9, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Mike Evans, Tom Brady, Chris Godwin, Scotty Miller, Rob Gronkowski. Tom Bowles is a tremendous defense coordinator. Some people think he should get a second look as a head coach with the right personnel. I mean, the Jets players liked him. It's just the fact that it really didn't kind of float the boat. I mean, they would rather Todd Bowles over Adam Gase right now. You don't think for 1 second that they would rather have him? You kidding me? Darnold's career would have never gotten ruined if they had Todd Bowles. I can guarantee you that one. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers were not ranked last week in the top 10. Number 8, the Los Angeles Rams. They took one step back. Yeah, you lose to San Francisco 49ers. Yeah, but they're the defending NFC champions. And I still think they're one of the top teams in the NFL right now. But if they lose this week, then I may have to reconsider what's going on. I just got to say, the Los Angeles Rams, Sean McVay, basically does a lot of things with grace and class. That's how I feel. That's how I feel about a lot of things today. Okay? Number 7, the Chicago Bears. Nick Foles, very underrated defense. Matt Nagy's a tremendous head coach. I mean, this is one of the most this team is a dark horse Super Bowl contender in the NFC. I personally don't think they're better than the Green Bay Packers. I could potentially be wrong, but this may be a team that could smash Green Bay in the mouth, and Green Bay basically will not fight you back. Chicago moved up a spot from last week. Number 6, the Seattle Seahawks. Russell Wilson, one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, they're only 6 because I know they're undefeated and all, playing the best division in the NFL in the NFC West. I sound like a broken record, but I do not like the fact. Simply put, with their defense, yeah, even with Jamal Adams, they're still pretty bad. They need to trade for a pass rusher like J.J. Watt at the trade deadline. They moved up a spot from last week. Number 5, to Green Bay Packers. They dropped like 3 spots. You get punched in the mouth against Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Aaron Rodgers is still him. Aaron Jones is still him. They're okay. Green Bay's still a good football team. And yeah, it wasn't about Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady last week. It was more about Aaron Rodgers really more getting punched in the mouth. More than anything else. That's what all it was. The simple thing was that all they did was get punched in the mouth. Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens. Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown, Mark Ingram II, Calais Campbell up front on defense. They need another wide receiver. I personally think they should use Devin Duvernay. They should use Devin Duvernay. I just think that Devin Duvernay should be used more. I mean, we've seen that kickoff return. And then you also got J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards. I mean, I like the personnel that they draft. Props to where props is due to general manager Eric DeCosta, who took over for Ozzie Newsome a couple of years ago, and that's a great ran organization. They know how to evaluate and scout talent. Perfect bye week for them. They move up a spot. Number 3, the Pittsburgh Steelers. They move up. Dominating win against the Cleveland Browns. Ben Roethlisberger, James Conner, Chase Claypool, Juju Smith-Schuster, James Washington, Deontay Johnson, plethora of wide receivers. Oh, you got TJ Watt and Bud Dupree on the defensive side of the football. Secondary's a little suspect. I expect maybe to give up some big chunk plays against Tennessee Titans. Offensive passing game, we'll see how it all goes. Mike Tomlin's a terrific head coach. They move up a spot. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. They move up a spot. Patrick Mahomes is a gunslinger. He slings it out. He probably best quarterback in the NFL. When you have Le'Veon Bell, it's a scary offense. But as I've said, there might be too many. There's not enough footballs to go around. It's nice. Le'Veon Bell would have helped the Buffalo Bills or Miami Dolphins or Chicago Bears team. But the truth of the matter is, let's see how this relationship works. And once again, I'm going to bring up Brandon Marshall from First Things First. It may mess up some chemistry. I'm curious to see how... I know it's a broken record, time tell, but we will see how the Kansas City Chiefs use them. Last but not least, the number 1 team in the top 10 for this week stays with the Tennessee Titans. I mean, that was impressive. I got scared they were going to lose to the Houston Texans. I'm like, how do you destroy the Buffalo Bills but then lose to the Houston Texans? And then Mike Vrabel's tremendous head coach. I personally think he's coach of the year right now. Got Ryan Tannehill, Derrick Henry. And you got other A.J. Brown, Corey Davis coming back, Adam Humphries, nice slot receiver. You also have Khalif Raymond, a speedster on special teams and a receiver. Tannehill will go deep to him on play action every now and then. Jonnu Smith, Anthony Ferguson, Michael Pruitt at tight end. Very deep tight end core. They use all of them. And yeah, I know they had Delaney Walker and here and there, but it's like, yeah, it's okay. And I think, like Jonnu Smith, I think Phil Simms is going over top where he says Jonnu Smith's one of the best tight ends in the league. And they used to have Delaney Walker. And we'll see how good this offense is. And along with Jadeveon Clowney on defense, Jeffrey Simmons, you got some other key pieces. Kevin Byron won Best Safeties League. Malcolm Butler, Dory Jackson, Christian Fulton, on Rashawn Evans, and Jayon Brownville nonetheless. Just a repeat of my top 10 teams very quickly. Number 10, the Buffalo Bills. Number 9, Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Number 8, the Los Angeles Rams. Number 7, Chicago Bears. Number 6, Seattle Seahawks. Number 5, the Green Bay Packers. Number 4, the Baltimore Ravens. Number 3, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Number 2, the Kansas City Chiefs. And number 1, the Tennessee Titans. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm all out of time here. Thanks for tuning in, Glenn's Dynamic Sports Corner. I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day and your weekend as well. Nonetheless, I will be back on the air at the same time on Monday. I'll be going over some game recaps from the 7th week of Thursday Night Football, Sunday Day, and Sunday Night Football, NBA offseason, and NHL offseason updates. MLB postseason game recaps from the World Series in Arlington, Texas, at Globe Life Field with fans, though, nonetheless. And then I hope to have some out music as well with my show's ending. Those improvements hopefully coming Monday or at a later date. Use promo code 12OZ Sports. All cash with deposit bonus up to $1,000 for my bookie. See y'all later. And enjoy your weekend.